Good morning, Conor. Thank you for taking some time out and coming on to our business owner podcast. Would you like to go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us all a bit about what you do?
My name is Conor Monaghan. I'm the managing director of a company called OG Valves Limited, based in Antrim, and we sell urgent and critical valve requirements to the oil and gas industry, specifically offshore. We also do pharmaceutical and nuclear.
So, who would be your ideal customer then? Is it bigger factories and that sort of an idea, or?
Our best customer base is EPCs, which is engineering, procurement, and construction companies which take on massive projects. And what the EPC does is they manage the whole project, including labour, including all the certification and legal requirements which is needed to do the work where it needs to be done. And what they do is an EPC will break it down into sections. And one of those sections will be in taking care of valve requirements.
Okay.
And then we speak to that specific section about valve requirements, and they give us a very heavily technical, detailed description of the valves that they need for each part of the job. So 90% of our work is to make sure that the valves that we offer meets the correct approvals, certification, and quality standards for that specific job.
And so that you, in the grand scheme of things, you're really quite niche in that project then.
Yeah, there's not a lot of us in Ireland. There's very few companies in Ireland which is involved in this type of work. There's a lot of companies in Aberdeen which is involved in this work, and they service the offshore oil and gas industry, which is off the coast of the North Sea oil and gas industry off the coast of Scotland. So there's tens of thousands of people which work in this industry, and a lot of them is based in Aberdeen.
Sure.
So locally, our local market would be Aberdeen companies, but we sell internationally. We deal with companies in Canada, America, Australia, and Latin America, Brazil, Guyana. We are international, so we're answering inquiries and supplying valve requirements all over the world.
And tell me, what was it that led you into this company? I know it's a relatively new company for you guys. And what's been that journey? How have you ended up as a managing director of OG Valves?
Well, I've owned a number of companies since I was 21. So I opened my first company when I was 21, doing precision CNC lathe and mill work. And I had success with that company. That company did well. That company also owned patents, and I was able to license those patents internationally. I was able to license it to a company in Seattle for America and the USA. I licensed it to a company in Birmingham for UK and Europe, and I licensed it to a company in Australia for Australia and New Zealand.
Okay.
And I learned a lot. I learned a lot when I was a young man. I learned a lot about business. Baptism through fire. I knew very little about it going into it, but I always had a natural instinct to learn on the move.
Yes.
So every time I came to something I didn't know, I would learn about it, learn how to do it properly, and then implement processes in order to run it, and then I would move on to the next problem. And so I was always like that. Started my first business when I was 21. I still have that company actually, but that company, I actually sold the patent rights eventually to clients which I was licensing to.
Yes.
Which then, when I got that money, then I went into different types of business. I got into the oil and gas industry with a company in distress. It was a company a Northern Irish group had bought in England. The company was in distress. It had severe problems with the workforce, and it just wasn't going well. It wasn't managed well, and it had a lot of problems. So I had just sold the business, and I was basically free agent at that time. And I was hired by this group to go over to the company based in outside Portsmouth and to take it on and to fix it. I love a challenge. I love the excitement of dealing with something which is broken.
Yeah.
and I have a fix-it mentality. How do I fix this? How do I make it work?
Yeah.
And I flew out and I saved that company and I fixed all the problems it had. And that company was involved in the oil and gas industry, selling valves and fittings to the offshore oil and gas industry. So I stayed with that company for over a decade. And yeah, I enjoyed my time there, had a lot of success there, built a really good team around me, and it was working like clockwork.
Right.
And then up until last year, there was a lot of change coming into the company, a lot of external change coming into the company, which meant that the level of control I had within the company was diminishing,
Sure.
and it was just the right time. You know, I had spent over a decade in that position. It was the right time to move on and to do something different.
And just, I'm intrigued then with the previous company. I mean, what sort of things did you do to fix the problems? What were maybe one or two of the standout things that made the biggest difference?
The biggest problem is that they didn't have anybody which was taking responsibility for the company,
Right.
taking responsibility to action warranties, to action who's doing what.
So no leadership.
They didn't have a leader,
Yeah.
and they had hired I think four managers, which the longest lasting one was maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And the junior staff was roasting the managers.
Right.
And then what it got very uncomfortable for the guy that owned it, extremely uncomfortable. And basically, he needed somebody which had a business owner mentality,
Yeah.
which would come in and not take any of this nonsense and straighten it out.
Yeah.
And it was a big challenge. It was a big challenge. It was exciting, and it was something new for me. And so I relished the opportunity. And I went over and I took control of everything. I took control of the company. I took control of the men. I became the focal point for the responsibility of the firm to honor warranties and to sort out problems and to deliver the jobs on time and to do the
Sure.
job properly and professionally. So every company needs a guiding star, which is going to pull the whole team focused and going in one direction.
Yeah. Get everybody pull the same rope.
Well, I think the problem was everybody was covering themselves. Nobody would take responsibility, and then things was going wrong, and everybody was blaming one another, and nobody would actually sit down and process out the problems to get it to work right.
So, and then interestingly now, you're, a relatively new company, locally in Northern Ireland. And what sort of steps have you taken when you've set that company up so that you don't encounter the same sort of problems?
Well, starting a new company is for someone that's never been in business before. Yeah, I don't think you could get into this type of work that we're doing
Yes.
if you didn't have business experience.
Yeah.
That this is not an easy industry to get into.
Sure.
It's very, very difficult. It has a lot of red tape. It has a lot of requirements which you must meet before you are eligible to sell product to the clients.
So
So
big barriers to entry.
massive barriers to entry, and certainly for the first 4 months that we started this company, we had clients which won't accept quotations from us if we don't have an ISO 9001,
Yeah.
right? So we're a brand new business. We don't have an ISO 9001, right? So then we have to go about building all the technical files and doing all the work and setting out all the procedures. ISO's all about procedures and tracking everything that goes through a company. So we had to set up the ISO for these blue chip companies, which wouldn't
Sure.
accept us unless we had it.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we had no ERP system. The ERP system is what manages the paperwork from quotation through to order through to delivery. So to keep it simple, an ERP system creates your quotation. If your quotation is ordered, it creates the paperwork for an order acknowledgement. It
Sure.
creates a packing list for the warehouse.
Yeah.
It creates the dispatch notes. It creates the invoicing.
That's going to be crucial for you if you're working internationally, basically with factories in China and different
Well, it rolls back into ISO 9001 procedures. And so not only did we have to get the ISO, we had to apply, do all the work, and then get accredited with ISO 9001, but we also had to build an ERP system specifically for the work that we do. You can't buy it out of the box.
No.
So what you get out of
Sounds
the box,
expensive.
well, what you get out of the box is a generic thing which doesn't work, to be quite honest with you. And the guy which sells it, they're great people. They're absolutely fantastic. It's a company called Soft Trader that we deal with,
Okay.
and they're very upfront and honest. And you have to do a thing called coding. You have to code everything in the ERP system to work the way you need it to work to do the job that you're doing.
Sure.
And this software is very specific to the oil and gas industry, specifically for selling valves and fittings in the oil and gas industry. And so we spent 4 months, a very heavy slog, getting the ISO set up, getting the ERP system set up, and then commencing registrations with the companies. So for all these companies we're dealing with are massive organizations, and you have to go through a registration process in order to be accepted as a vendor.
Yeah.
So this doesn't take weeks, this takes months.
Yeah.
So a lot of work to get started. It's not something you would go into blind. You'd really need to know the industry well.
But answer me this: do you think if everybody who went into business put that first few months into putting a really solid foundation in and getting their processes and getting their systems up to speed instead of just jumping straight in, do you think that's a better way to do things?
It's the only way to have to secure success. If you go in to any business and like I have everything is set up in this company. We do our own accounts in this company. We do our own payroll in this company. We do our own pension contributions. We control every aspect of this company is done in-house. So I run the Sage, I run the payroll, I run the pension contributions, I work with the team here. We all work together in the ERP system, and the ERP system runs the business. Does everybody look at it that way? When you're new, you can't see the jobs which need work.
You can't see maybe the value in doing that job.
Well, you just can't see it. You don't have the experience. And suppose the only advice I could give to your question is that don't go into something you know nothing about. You need to know something about it, and you need to be an expert on what that business is ultimately doing and the processes involved in making it a success.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like a really exciting time for you guys. You've got you've got the hard slog done. The business is fully operating now. What does the next 5 years look like, and what do you think are the main challenges moving forward?
The next 5 years would be we will try to open an office in Latin America. So we already have external sales guys working for us. So the 7 of us in total. So 5 of us are based here in Antrim, and then we have 2 external guys.
Sure.
One guy covers Australia and Scotland, and another guy covers Latin America. And it would be trying to get an office in Latin America, I think, and increasing the workforce, which it's in this type of industry, increasing your workforce is a tremendous amount of training.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount of investment in an individual. And so, you're taking on an apprentice and you're trying to train them exactly the way that the work needs to be prepared for the client. And we aim to have 0 mistakes. And we can't really make mistakes. If you're making a valve, a £70,000 valve, and it has to be a bespoke manufactured valve at a factory in Korea, there's no margin for error. You can't get the paperwork wrong. You need the drawing needs to be correct. The client needs to approve every aspect of the job, and you need to be talking to the right people at the client in order to make sure that you're supplying the correct valve, fit for purpose for doing the application that they're doing with it. So we have to do a lot of checking. We have to safeguard the relationship with the client by double checking everything to make sure that there's no error in the client's information and,
Yes.
and that there's no error in our information. So yeah, the next 5 years would be building the team stronger, doing more in-depth training, and just getting slicker and slicker at the way we do things.
Very cool. So I always like to finish on this question, Conor. If you could go back in time and speak to any 18-year-old Conor, so before you even started that business at 21, what's the one piece of advice you would give him?
Well, what I learned in my working career, which has served me right through to my business career,
Sure.
was that you need to focus on learning skills, right? Don't go into the workplace thinking, oh, money, money, money. How do I get money? Because the money will take care of itself the more
Yeah.
skilled you are. And the more skilled you are, the more invaluable you become to the company that's hired you. Because you can do all the jobs. So if there's a guy missing for a day, or if there's a guy not pulling his weight, you can
Mm.
jump into that role and you can do that job. So you need to be flexible and you need to have the right attitude. So, you know, you need to come with a positive attitude, learn skills, and money will take care of itself. And the more skills that you can learn, the more adaptable then you automatically become more adaptable through knowing more skills.
Yes.
And certainly in this company, I've taken on brand new skills. So the Sage, for example,
Sure.
Sage is very interesting, and it's quite funny the way AI and the way computer software is moving at the moment. But to give an example, I never done Sage
Mm.
in my life. I got half a day's training on Sage. Now, this is cloud-based Sage. It's called Sage Plus. It's cloud-based.
Yeah.
I got half a day's training, and the software is so friendly, so easy to use.
Yeah.
I'm running the entire accounts package myself with half a day's training. So it's brilliant. It flags up any errors. The software can detect errors. It can flag up, double check something. It's absolutely brilliant, and that's the wonderful opportunities young business people have moving into business at the moment,
Yeah.
because the softwares are so friendly, such a
Yeah.
good interface.
Yeah.
And when you do your own accounts, it gives you more control of the company. You know exactly what bills is coming up. You know
Yeah.
exactly when your VAT return is due. You're aware of all the financials of your business as you move forward. And obviously, as you would know, Scott, cash flow's king.
Yeah.
So it helps you to be completely aware of your cash flow situation so that you don't overextend yourself at a time which could cause cash flow problems.
Yeah, that's 100%. You need to get, I mean, I think a lot of people shy away from their numbers, but here you are saying like there's a really ergonomic system out there with half a day's training and it'll actually give you the insight into your numbers. You know, what doesn't talk doesn't lie. So you need to be able to talk to your business, and that's the best way to do it.
Well, the new softwares now, they're sort of half run by AI,
Yeah,
which means that it is actually checking and correcting your mistakes.
yeah,
But to be honest with you, a 12-year-old child could do Sage in a business. The software is so user friendly.
awesome.
So yeah, it's actually a far easier time to get into business than when I started business when I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. Really interesting story. Really exciting time for your company now, moving forward. And yeah, look, I appreciate you being so open and honest and candid with us. We can't wait to share it with everybody. Thank you, Connor.
100%. Thank you, Scott.